Hello, beautiful peaches. Welcome to the Macros, Metabolism, and Motivation Beautiful Peach Podcast. I'm your host, Caitlen, a reverse diet expert, sustainable fat loss nerd, and food freedom lover. After healing my own mind, body, and metabolism from the icky, restrict, binge, food guilt cycles, I became obsessed with helping other women do the same. I spent 6 years getting my bachelor's and master's degrees in all things nutrition, dietetics, and metabolism health, go Clemson Tigers, in order to start a science-backed, never cookie-cutter, always customized online macro and reverse diet coaching business. I have supported over 3,500 incredible women in their journey to endless results, and I am so excited to help you do the same. In this podcast, I will be teaching you how to break up with the yo-yo diet cycles, tips and tricks to heal your metabolism through reverse dieting. I will be giving away my sustainable weight loss secrets, all without you having to give up a single food you love. So if you're ready to rediscover that self-love and truly become the most confident, beautiful peach possible, grab a pen and a piece of paper, bump up your volume just a little, and let's dive right in. And don't forget to snag your completely free high-protein macro cookbook. All you need to do is submit a quality 5-star rate and review on this podcast, then fill out the form in the show notes so I know exactly where to send your cookbook. This will actually also automatically enter you into the weekly macro calculator giveaway. Every week, I give away a copy of my C. Schmidt macro calculator to one lovely, beautiful peach who has left an awesome 5-star rate and review on this podcast. The winner is announced every single week in my email newsletter email list, as well as my Instagram story. You can't miss it. So leave that 5-star rate and review, and I will see you in the episode. What is up, my beautiful, beautiful peach? Today we are going to be diving into our reverse diet phase number 3. This is the eating more without weight regain phase. Maybe one of my favorite phases ever because we have gone through phase 1, which is the full-on diet burnout. We have gone through phase 2, which is the slow metabolism and weight regain, which is of course, never ever fun on top of that diet burnout. And now we're in the place where we are action taking. We're like, I want to heal that metabolism. And we are going to go through the phase number 3, the eat more without the weight regain phase. So if you have not listened to the 2 previous episodes before this one, highly recommend, because the 2 previous episodes plus this episode plus next week's episode are all a series that are essentially recorded. I've recorded them to be step-by-step, building off of each other. So if you have not listened to the 2 previous episodes, I highly recommend going and listening to those first and then coming back and listening to this episode. So I am very excited. I've got a lot to cover in this one. So without further ado, let's dive into reverse dieting phase 3, the eating more without regain phase. We have covered diet burnout, the plateau phase, where essentially the diet has stopped working. We may have gone through all the diets, whether this was for 6 months, whether this was for 2 years, whether this was for 5, 10, 15, 20, 40 plus years. I actually had somebody who just started working with me who has been dieting for 40 years, which is not uncommon at all to have women who are in a space where they have been yo-yo dieting for the majority of their life. So phase 1, we have hit that diet plateau. We are doing all of the diets. Nothing is working. This is not only because your body is rebelling, but also your mind is rebelling. Your mind does not want to be in that dieting space anymore. Your body does not want to be in that dieting space anymore. And everything is just a full-on diet burnout. Hey, let's stop this dieting. Then we have the slow metabolism weight regain phase, which of course is never a fun one. This essentially means that when that diet burnout happened and you went into a massive calorie deficit restrictive phase for a long, prolonged period of time, your metabolism has slowed down. So when you end up, every single time you end up stop dieting, you are no longer restricting, you have that weight regain coming back on. And this is because you have a slow metabolism due to all of that cardio and diet burnout. Now we have the fun phase after that little recap there. We have this fun phase, which is the reverse diet phase, aka how we can eat more food without having that mass weight regain. And this is what I wrote my master's thesis on. So I get extremely excited when I am talking about this. This is like my zone of genius, if you will, my expertise, my favorite thing ever. I personally was in a space where I was really struggling from massive restrictive burnout, cardio burnout, mental burnout, like the whole 9 yards. I was yo-yo dieting number one. So I was doing every single diet there was, every single skinny tea, every single detox. I was doing mass amounts of cardio. I would stay on the treadmill for like 60 minutes, like minimum. Usually it was longer than that, like 2 hours every single day, on top of strength training. Some days I would be outside running 6 miles. I was eating like 900 calories to 1200 calories. I was really putting my body through the ringer. And our society tells us to eat less, to eat less, to eat less. And the reality of it is, yes, we do need to be in a calorie deficit in order to lose weight. But what about those women who are already in a calorie deficit, who are eating, 1200 calories, 1500 calories, 900 calories, who are seeing quite literally zero changes to their body? And if anything, they are starting to see their body rebound from all of the dieting, all of the restrictive eating. That's exactly what was happening to me. That's exactly why I have these 4 episodes, the 2 episodes before this one, and then the one coming up next week, is to really walk you through what is going on. And it's, after myself being in that space, then fast forwarding to really just becoming the biggest nerd in the entire world and ending up writing my master's thesis on this. I just get so excited. I've helped at this point, we're close to like 4,000 women who have just quite truly changed their entire life. They trusted the reverse diet. They trusted the science. They trusted me, and they are absolutely thriving. So let's dive into our example from the previous 2 episodes. I think I have this correct in my notes. I was writing this. I was like, is this the same example? I'm like, am I thinking of the right thing? And I think I am. I'm not 100% positive, but we're going to roll with it. So we have this example of somebody who was eating 2,400 calories. She decided that she wanted to lose weight. So she did keto. She ended up burnt out from keto, from that low carb, and she said no more keto. She started gaining the weight back. And then she ended up in that cycle of dieting, right? Because she's in this place where she wants to lose the weight, but she doesn't know what to do. So she always goes to that next fad diet, whether that is Noom, whether that's 21-day fix, whether that's Optavia, whether that is going for Ozempic, which is the new like popular fat loss quick. Everything's just, I did this post yesterday actually about like quick, it was like the top quick fixes or diets or something in 2024. And the idea of the post is there is no such thing as a true quick fix, a quick fix that's going to be a long-term change, because quick fixes and restrictive dieting does lead to longer term problems. And the problem with our society is we don't see that. We only hold on to the almost like a dopamine rush of having that immediate, starting to have that immediate change. When we do that first diet, we all of a sudden are losing weight so fast and we're like, wow, this feels good. We get excited. People are making comments. We're just like, wow, we're feeling good. And we hold on to that positive feeling, even though we are in this massive restrictive place. So once we start to have the rebound after that dieting, and we're like, I don't know what's going on, in our mind, we're still holding on desperately to that feeling that we had at the very, very, very beginning, which is where we are having that fast weight loss happen, but in an unhealthy way and in a way that is going to rebound. But in our mind, we associate restricting, we associate dieting, we associate, low calories with that feeling. And we are chasing that feeling without realizing that continuing down the diet path isn't actually going to give us that feeling again, or give it to us long term. And it's once we actually have that realization and we say, okay, I understand something needs to change. Like nothing is going to change if nothing changes. And by going to different diets, we are not actually changing. We're just going to a different diet. So when something changes, it has to be sustainable, maintainable, educational, and enjoyable, which is the 4 pillars. My framework of all of my coaching programs, all of my courses must be sustainable. It must be maintainable. It must be educational. And it must be enjoyable. And that when you have those 4 pieces coming in together, together. So you're able to eat out, you're able to travel, your macros are fitting you, you have a custom game plan, you are learning the what, the why, the how, you're having an education behind what's going on with your body, and also you're enjoying the process. That is when you have that long-term change. And that's why I love doing what I do and why I get so nerdy and excited. So in our example, our example woman, she keeps going back to Google. She keeps trying to find the next fad diet. She is desperate for the long-term change, but she needs that sustainable change. And she hits that point where she says, okay, I get it. Dieting is not going to be my answer. I understand I have a slow metabolism and it's time for me to do that reverse diet. I am terrified. I am scared. My whole entire life, I've been trained to think that eating more food means weight gain. I'm so scared, but I understand this is the way that our body works. I understand. And actually we'll have more understanding. Let's pretend that she's already listened to this episode and she's like, oh, okay, I get it. And she's now in a place where she's like, yes, let's do this. So let's get into that education piece. What the heck is a reverse diet and why does it actually work? Why does it not lead to that mass weight regain? Okay. So number one, a reverse diet is when we can heal our metabolism from that diet burnout, specifically going from a lower calorie place all the way up to a higher calorie place when done correctly without that mass weight regain. And why does this happen? Why is it that when we're eating more, following the specific reverse diet process, why is it that we can't eat more without having that mass weight regain? Okay. The scientific term is called metabolic adaptation. And essentially it happens when our body is in a calorie deficit. So this also does happen when we are in a calorie deficit. This is why our metabolism is in the very first place going into a place where it's lowering down, it's slowing down, and also why we see plateaus. It happens to our body essentially when we are eating in a lower place. So for example, we go from, let's say 2,500 calories down to, let's do like a big old change here to make this kind of quick. We go down to a 1,200 calorie place. Listen to the past two episodes because I go a little bit more in depth in this, but essentially what's going to happen is our metabolism was used to eating that 2,500 calories. When we're in that long-term restrictive place, it's going to lower to that 1,200 calories because essentially our body, all of the systems in our body are trying to down-regulate to match that lower amount of food. So when we're consuming food, this is fuel. This is how we are going about our day-to-day. We need protein for our muscle growth and recovery, and also to help keep us satisfied, keep us full. We need carbs for energy balance as well as sleep-wake cycle. And we need our fat for our secondary source of energy, but also for our hormonal balance. For some reason, I feel like in my mind, I just said that carbs are for hormonal balance. It's definitely energy balance. I don't know, in my mind, I'm like, did I just say that? Did I say hormonal balance? Carbs are necessary for energy balance and also our sleep-wake cycle. And then fat is hormonal balance and a secondary source of energy. I said that and I was like, why did that sound wrong? Let me repeat just in case. And I have balloons. So on my screen, I've got balloons, and maybe that means that I said it correctly the first time. Anyway, point being is our body is going to downregulate all the systems in our body. It's going to throw out libido. That's not something that we really, really need to actually live and to survive. Our body is going to really prioritize the things that we need to live and survive, for us to breathe, for us to, to move at least a little bit. I mean, honestly, we could be sitting on the couch as a couch potato because we have literally no energy at all because our body has downregulated so much. So go listen to the past two episodes if you have not, for a little more insight there. Now, essentially metabolic adaptation. So that's what's happening to our body. That's why our metabolism is lowering down. We can actually, once we understand why that's happening, and we understand that our body is trying to adapt to a lower calorie intake, we can actually hop into the driver's seat and quite literally control this metabolic adaptation that's happening to our body and reverse the effects of the calorie deficit and reverse the effects of what's happening when our body is being down-regulated, to help our body actually restore all of those functions, restore all of those systems, restore your metabolism overall, and get you into a place where your body is absolutely thriving, and also to a place where you're eating more food without the weight regain. Now, there's three steps that I want to talk about, and then I have three other thoughts of why specifically we don't have that weight regain when doing this process. So I think my first and foremost thing here, though, is for you to understand that metabolic adaptation, our metabolism slowing, is in fact what is literally happening to our body. So when you think about metabolic adaptation, that term, metabolic, you can think metabolism, adaptation, you can think adapting. So our metabolism is adapting to a lower calorie intake, okay? And so keep that in your mind as we are going through this episode, because, and I'll try and bring this up again if I can remember, but keep that in your mind, okay? Now, when it comes to, in my notes, I literally have, when it comes to being a peachy queen of reverse dieting, we really have 3 steps that I love to keep in mind when going through the process, okay? So in our example of our example woman that we have been using, let's say that she's ending her calories. She's been in this massive restrictive place. She's been dieting and she's eating 900 calories. She is restricting. She is in the cycle of restrict, binge, food guilt, playing on repeat. She's getting off track every single weekend, but she is ready for that sustainable change. She is nervous. She's very nervous, but she understands that nothing changes if nothing changes, and she is ready to invest in her life, her health, for that long-term change, because she is a badass woman who wants to become that woman that she looks up to and to become the person that she is proud of. So we have our 3 steps of reverse dieting, and the very first one is macros. We want to make sure that we have the proper macros. So what are macros? Macros, the term macros is just like a little shortened term for the word macronutrients. And macronutrients is the category for our protein, our carbs, and our fat. So the food that we consume is made up of either protein, carbs, or fat. Okay. And when we are consuming these 3, we can categorize that and say we are consuming macronutrients. And then because we like shortened terms, we are consuming macros. Therefore, when we are tracking our macros, this means we're tracking our macronutrients, which means simply that we are tracking our protein, our carbs, and our fat. And it literally just means looking at a nutrition label, looking at that protein, that carbs, and that fat. In my coaching programs, I have little videos, how-to videos to look at nutrition label, all those basics there, if that's something that's brand new to you. But essentially what this means and the importance of actually tracking our macros, especially instead of tracking just our calories, and I actually do have a full episode on that, so I'm not going to go too deep into that, but essentially we want to track our macros for our body composition, number 1. And I really hate this term. I really hate this term, but I think so many people understand it. So essentially, when we are just tracking our calories instead of tracking our macros, and we go into a deficit and we lose weight, we could actually end up, I cringe. I really cringe saying this, but people are going to understand it. Skinny fat. I hate this term, but people know what I'm talking about. We want to track our macros, so therefore we won't become skinny fat, and we will have that beautiful body with that lean muscle and that body shape that most women are really trying to aim for, okay? Because when we track our macros, we are tracking our protein, which is necessary for muscle growth and recovery. And I think so many people understand that we have to track our protein, but then they completely forget about their carbs and their fat, and you cannot get that ideal, that dream body that you would like without knowing how much fat you are eating and also how many carbs you are eating, because carbs are essential for our energy balance, our sleep-wake cycle, but it also really pushes that full-on next level to that body composition change that you want. And then also, if we don't have enough fat, that's going to mess with our hormonal balance, and that's also going to throw our body completely out of whack. I have a lot of women who are coming to me in a massive calorie deficit, and they number one, either do not feel their hunger at all. They're like, I am eating 900 calories. I'm literally never hungry. And I'm like, ooh, this is a red flag. Like, we really want to take a deep dive and work on your metabolism, go through that reverse diet so you can get your hunger hormones and hunger cues firing properly again and help your body understand what's going on. It's basically, and I talk about this gear example all the time, but it's basically as if we have a machine and our body's a machine and our metabolism is the very center, and we have all like a big gear in the center. And we have all these smaller gears all around, but if this metabolism gear has a rock in it and it's stuck, right? That rock's in there, it's stuck, it's slow, it's not working well. All of the other gears around it are going to be slowing down as well, meaning our whole entire body, all of the different pieces in our body are going to be working at a slower pace, working at a lesser capacity, meaning our weight's going to be stalled. We're going to see weight regain. Our libido is going to be messed up. Our muscle growth's not going to be rocking and rolling. Like all of these different things are going to be wonky. Our digestion's going to be weird. our bloat's going to be weird. Our body feels off. And that's one of the things where I wish we could have a diet receipt of being like, hey, here you get your quick fat loss at the checkout counter. But, the hidden receipts in there, the hidden pieces that you don't, it's like the fine print, right? And you have all of these things that are like, you're going to have weight regain. You are going to have low libido. You're going to be cranky. You're going to mess with your hunger hormones. You're like, all of these things are going wonky. And so as we're healing your metabolism, it's like taking that rock out of that middle gear and getting everything working and functioning at its best through us stepping into the driver's seat and becoming the person who is strategically using metabolic adaptation to our own advantage and to heal our body from the inside out. Okay. And if we don't have the proper macros at the very, 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 very beginning of our reverse diet, the very beginning of literally anything we're doing, this down the road could come back and to kick you in the butt. Okay. It's one of those things where you want to have those proper macros. You absolutely have to have those proper macros, which is why that's the very first thing I do for any of my coaching programs. And I teach in at my courses as well. But the main point here is you have to have the proper foundation in order to build from. Otherwise, your foundation is going to crumble. It's like a house. I always say this. If we don't have the proper foundation for our house, down the road, it's going to crumble. The same thing goes for macros. You want to have the proper macros to build from. Okay. So number one is having the proper macros and understanding why you are tracking those macros rather than just tracking your calories. If we're just tracking our calories, we could be missing out on very, very necessary protein, carbs, or fat. And we want to make sure we have adequate of all of the above. Number two, we want to actually hit our macros. And I think a lot of people are like, okay, Caitlen, but I'm hitting my macros 2 days out of the week. And it's like, okay, cool. That's great. But like, let's scoot that up a little bit. This means I want you to really feel confident and really feel comfortable navigating the real world scenarios. So many different programs and so many different diets out there make you feel like you cannot go out to eat, make you feel like you cannot go out for, wine night with the girls. You can't travel. You can't enjoy the holidays. I am the polar opposite. I do not believe that any food should ever, ever, ever be cut out. This is only going to make you give up. This is going to make you fall off track. You're going to fall off the wagon. And my goal is to make sure that you are really feeling absolutely amazing, living your life the way that you want to live your life. And so when I say this, I essentially mean you do not need to be fitting into a diet box. I actually really, really want you to travel. I want you to plan the weekend trips. I want you to do those real world things so you are able to confidently navigate those situations without feeling like you have to cut back on certain foods. So I want you to be able to eat the sushi when you're out and about and not feel, and this was actually when I was first learning about macros, like I was at the very beginning of my own personal journey, way before my degrees, way before my education. I was in this place where I literally wasn't eating sushi. I wasn't eating, I had this little bakery when I was back at Clemson that I loved. And I had a chocolate chip muffin. I think it was a double chocolate chip muffin, actually. If I'm remembering correctly, like part of me is like, ooh, was it? And I think it was, because to this day, I'm still like such a double chocolate chip muffin. Oh, it's so good. Costco has the absolute best double chocolate chip muffins, but you have to buy, I think it's like a 24 pack. Wait, 12. Yeah. I literally know these packages and like, let me count in my head anyway. And they're so good, but you have to buy 2 of them now. And we haven't bought them as much just because it literally takes up so much freezer space. But there you go. That's the point, though. You can put them in your freezer or just cut them in half, put it in your freezer, like spread them out as you need. So freaking good. Point being, I want you to be able to hit your macros in all the scenarios, because if we are not actually hitting our macros, this is essentially like trying to get to Rome in Italy with a map of Florida. Okay, if we are trying to get to Rome in Italy, we have a roadmap of Florida. We're not going to get to where we want to go. And that's the same thing. If we are not hitting our macros outside of our free meal day, and I don't say cheat meals because when we are having a day where we're having a meal that's not tracked, we are we are absolutely not cheating on our quote unquote diet. I hear that all the time, like, I'm cheating on my diet. And I'm like, well, number one, you shouldn't be dieting. Number two, you should be able to eat the things that you're having on that quote unquote cheat meal literally anytime you want and still be right on track. And also, it's not cheating anything. You're just having a meal that's untracked. And that's what I teach. I teach you how to have those foods that were previously off limit throughout the week. So you're getting out of that weekend start over phase. So you're getting out of, the space where you feel like you have to stay away from certain foods during the week because you're going to go wild on the weekend and then you start over every Monday. I'm like, no, let's start fitting those foods into your week on a day-to-day. We have your macros. Great. Awesome. Let's start to learn to navigate that, because that's going to get you out of the good food, bad food mindset. And it's also going to get you out of that binge eating mindset as well. Now, what's really important here when it comes to hitting our macros, and the way that I like to think about it, is essentially we can think about, let's do an example here. So let's say we hit our macros, and I've done this example before, but I want to do it again. So let's just pretend, for the sake of this example, our macros are 100 protein, 100 carbs, and 100 fat. Again, this is just an example. These are not realistic. This would not make sense for macros, solely for the example, okay? Let's say that day one, we hit straight across the board. We're 100, 100, 100. Day two, let's say we're 50 for protein, we're 200 for carbs, we're 80 for fat, right? We're off there. Let's say Wednesday, we are 70 for protein, we are 150 for carbs, we are 200 for fat. Maybe Wednesday we hit our macros again, we're 100, 100, 100. And Thursday, that cycle repeats. So we really only hit our macros 2 of those days. Our body, because of metabolic adaptation, our body's adapting, will have quite literally no idea what we're doing, and it will not be able to adapt. It's like when you're getting into a routine, okay? And you have 7 days a week and you want to have a set routine, and you only really do that routine on Monday and Wednesday, your body's not going to recognize, your mind's not going to recognize what you're doing, and you're not going to be able to create that routine because you're kind of all over the place. And so if we are strategically working ourselves and we are being in the driver's seat for this metabolic adaptation, which is going to lead us into that reverse diet, we have to be strategic. We actually have to go through the process. We have to hit our macros. Otherwise, our body's not going to understand what we're doing. It's not going to be adapting. And it's going to say, hey, cool, great. You hit this number of 100, 100, 100 on Monday. You did this random number on Tuesday, random Wednesday. And it's not going to see the consistency in you trying to hit those macros. But if you're hitting them on Monday, you're like 100, 100, 100. Tuesday, you're like 102 for protein, 99 for carbs, 101 for fat, and you repeat that, your body and your mind and your metabolism is going to start to see, hey, we're right around that 100, 100, 100 range. It's kind of hard to say. And it's going to start to actually adapt to those numbers, which is why it's so important to actually hit those macro goals, which then in turn means it's so incredibly important to learn how to navigate the real world scenarios while confidently hitting those macros and not feeling restricted. I repeat, not feeling restricted. I am not a person who's going to teach macros, and I'm a perfectionist. I am a type A crazy human when it comes to organization, when it comes to being perfect. And this was something when I first started tracking macros. Really, I got myself into the side of macros, the world of macros that is just like unhealthy, and it's restrictive, and it's using macros to kind of push myself into a place of good food, bad food thoughts, and really unhealthy. So now being on the other side, I'm like, absolutely not. We will not be on that side of the world. We're going to be in world of macros. We're going to be on the side of macros where we are eating out and enjoying our food. I am absolutely obsessed with eating out. I love to eat out. I love food. I am obsessed with experiencing new things and cooking and all of that. I'm actually a very lazy cook. Let's be honest here. I am so busy, and I work with a lot of busy women. So I am indeed a lazy cook, but I love the days where I do have time to cook and experience. And I love food. I love to travel. The places we're going to eat when we're traveling are like the very first thing that I plan. And it's important to make sure that we're able to hit those macros in real world scenarios. So step number 1 of reverse dieting, we have to have the proper starting macros, okay? Step number 2, and this is why I have my macro calculator and why all my coaching programs go through that same process, okay? Step number 2, we have to actually learn to hit our macros. And step number 3, we have to strategically adjust our macros in order to make sure we don't have that weight regain during the process. And you cannot start adjusting your macros until you have mastered step 1 and step 2 that I just walked you through, okay? We cannot just dive into macro adjustments if we have not mastered those, okay? And this is why when it comes to reverse dieting, there is such a strategic process, and I'm going to get into that a little bit more in just a second, but why there is a very solid system that all of my clients go through in order to make sure that you will have success. I have been coaching for over a decade now. I've worked with close to 4,000 clients. I have I'm like a well-oiled machine over here. I know what the heck I am doing. I not only have been in your shoes in the past, I also have the education-backed experience from this. And we want to do this properly if we want to have the long-term change.
I want to interrupt this oh so lovely podcast of mine to let you know all about the Reverse Diet course. This is my high-level course for women who want to learn exactly how to adjust their macros and heal their metabolism through reverse dieting so they can eat more food, lose more weight, yes please, and take control over their body and results. Reverse dieting is a process that needs to be custom to you as an individual and your metabolism. This is exactly why I have included the Reverse Diet Checklist, which will walk you through exactly when to and when not to adjust your macros based on your own personal biofeedback every week. I've also included my own personal coaching template called the Reverse Diet Plug and Play Spreadsheet, which honestly alone is worth hopping into the Reverse Diet course for. It holds literally all of my knowledge in one spreadsheet of exactly how much of protein, carbs, or fat to adjust, because they are all adjusted separately, to make sure that you are having a kick-butt reverse diet. In addition, because we love a good bonus, you will get access to the macro calculator to make sure that you are actually having proper starting macros. We want that good, solid foundation. You will also get bonus access to my alcohol plug and play tracker to make sure that you're able to pop that bubbly and celebrate this amazing journey while still having the fun cocktails. So go ahead, grab the Reverse Diet course. The link is down below in the show notes. And if you have any questions for me, please feel free to reach out on Instagram at CSCHMIDT.fit, and I am here to support you. Enjoy the rest of the episode.
And one of the things too, I think a lot of people are in this place where they have seen some sort of YouTube video, or they have seen something that says just adjust your calories by 50 to 100 calories. This is not what we want to do. Macros are going to be adjusted from your protein, based on your protein, carbs, and fat. All three are actually adjusted separately, number one, and in different amounts. And so I want to walk you through, number one, why they are adjusted separately. So please, if you've heard to adjust your macros by 50 to 100 calories, and it's, I do believe that people need to, I believe we fail to win. Okay. I believe that we have to fail in order to understand where we need to go. And so I think for a lot of people, they're like, okay, well, I know Caitlen has said so often that we don't want to just adjust our calories, but I'm going to do it anyway. And anyway, the way I said that, I'm going to do it anyway. I don't know why I said it that way, but they end up having, not having the correct reverse diet. They end up seeing a lot of weight regain. They come back and they're like, Caitlen, you're right. And I'm like, hey, it's good. You've got to fail to learn and fail to win. And I am okay with that. If I could help you know in the first place how not to spend that time, I'm just kind of like, I could solve the problem right off the bat for you and you don't have to waste that time. But again, I want you to learn as you need to learn and get to where you need to go through the way and the process that you're going to go regardless, right? I hope that made sense. I feel like it might not have, but that's okay. We're going to roll with that one. I hope that made sense. So why are we adjusting our protein, our carbs, and our fat separately? Why do we do this? When we are slowly eating more, we are using metabolic adaptation, aka we're using reverse dieting, okay, strategically to our advantage. Why? Number one, and there's different points here. So number one, in order to build more muscle in the process. When we are in a calorie deficit, we are not going to be able to adequately build muscle. Why? And this is interesting too, but this is also why so many women are working their absolute freaking tail feathers off in the gym and are not seeing changes happen. It's because you are in a calorie deficit and your body quite literally does not have enough food in order to have that proper muscle growth and recovery. And you can go listen to episode 111, why you cannot properly build muscle in a calorie deficit. I go a lot deeper into this, but I think one of the main things to think about in this situation is, yes, you can have the correct amount of protein, but if you're not actually eating adequate calories, you can eat all the protein in the world, but you're not going to see the muscle growth and recovery because you're not eating enough fuel overall. And I think a lot of people assume that, hey, I'm eating 1,200 calories, I'm hitting my protein, I don't know what's happening to carbs and fat, but I should be building a lot of muscle, right? And it's like, actually, no, you need to be eating enough food. And that's why when we're reverse dieting, we are slowly but surely increasing the overall amount that we're eating, meaning and also we have the proper protein, carbs, and fat. And this means that overall, we are increasing the amount of fuel going into our body, therefore giving our body more and more and more to have that beautiful muscle growth and recovery. And also, this is why so many women have a body recomp, because muscle weighs more than fat. And this is why I so strongly believe that if you are struggling with a number on the scale, you can I really challenge you to start to learn to disconnect that the number on the scale quite literally does not matter. You may end up with your dream body and you may be the same exact weight as you started. Maybe you might be a little more, maybe you will be a little bit less. But the point being is you're going to have this beautiful change to your body, and you might literally be focusing on the scale without paying attention to what's happening in your body. I had a client who was down in waist measurements. Like, she was looking so freaking good, but she was like, but the number on the scale is the same. And I'm like, but do you care? Like, obviously she cared, but I'm like, if you could look at yourself and get past the number on the scale and see that you are she had to buy a new pair of jeans, but she's like, but the number on the scale is the same. I'm like, you literally just bought a smaller size jeans and you're still concerned about the scale. And it's crazy because I get it. It's not crazy. I don't mean it that way, but it's crazy because I have been in that place in the past. And so I understand the massive connection to the scale that the diet industry pushes us into. So I challenge you right here and now to start working on the number on the scale and trying to disconnect it. I think I actually have there's a really good podcast episode that I did. It might be in the 90s. I can't remember for sure, but it's a great one. So highly suggest. Now, as we are eating more with the specific adjustments to our protein, our carbs, and our fat, this allows us to use metabolic adaptation to our advantage. And it's basically taking the way that our body works, stopping it from going haywire, stopping it from having all of that weight regain, jumping in the driver's seat and essentially taking back control and going in the opposite direction and slowly, strategically. It's like if we have some like random person in the car, they are just like foot on that gas pedal. You are flying down the direction of weight regain. You are flying down the direction of your body going haywire. It's like you basically popping in saying, scoot over, pal, like get out of the car. You are slowing things down. You are taking a breather. You are getting your nervous system feeling better. You are very slowly turning around. You're, sitting on that cruise control, like putting your favorite music on, like feeling good. And you are turning around and going in the opposite direction very strategically and very intentionally with those macro adjustments. Okay. And I really encourage, I encourage people to, when my clients come to me, I'm like, I want you to do what you love to do for working out. So I have marathon runners. I have women who love yoga. I have women who love their, cycling classes. And also, I encourage you to at least give strength training a try. If you don't like it, that's fine. But like, don't knock it until you try it. That's something I love trying any and all food. I think when I was like 10 years old, I tried escargot. My sister and I love escargot. And I remember, this is the funniest story my family loves to tell. So my sister and I were young, but we were, I can't remember the full scenario. Basically, we were at a hotel. My parents were like in one room and we were like, we're going to go order escargot. They're like, great, we'll watch you, like go order it. And we went and ordered the escargot, and the waiter, it's fun. My sister tells it so funny too. The waiter apparently kind of was a little bit on the snooty side. I was like, do you even know what escargot is? And apparently I, in my sassy self, I guess I was like, duh, snails. And the guy was like, oh, okay then. Yes. I will go get that for you. But it's funny because
you can't knock it until you try it, right? And I was like, I'll try it. That's fine. I have tried so many different things. I've been to South Africa and I tried ostrich, which literally does taste pretty much like chicken, if I remember correctly. Tried alligator. Like, I will try almost anything. In Scotland, oh my gosh, what is it called? Ooh, I'm going to completely blank on what it's called. It's really, I think it's kind of gross because I think it's like the innards of an animal, but it's really good. But that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm going to experience, like, I will try the different things. My point being is, like, don't knock something until you try it. Okay. Like, that could even go for reverse dieting. Don't knock it until you try it. Because once you try it, you're going to have success and you're going to feel great. And don't knock strength training until you try it. And this is what's going to help you build that beautiful lean muscle. The moral of the story, talking about all of my adventurous eating, that is the moral of the story. Okay. Now, number 2, why we want to do strategic adjustments to our macros is because we need a roadmap for our body. So I gave you the example of the roadmap. And if we are just increasing our calories overall by 50 to 100 calories, our body's going to lose sight of the true healing process that it needs to go through. Meaning, sure, yes, you are just increasing your overall intake. So let's say you started at 900 calories, you bump up to 1,000 calories one week. The next week, you're at like 1,100 calories, so on and so forth. Great, awesome. Yes, you are indeed eating more. And also, you're probably very likely seeing weight regain happening, which means that you're not actually reverse dieting. You're not actually going through the process of metabolic adaptation. You're quite literally just eating in a surplus. Your metabolism still sits at 900 place. So once you're hitting, 2,000 calories, you've now gained 50 more pounds. And it's like, you didn't actually reverse diet, you just gained weight and your metabolism's still sitting at 900 calories. So all that time that you just took doing what you thought was, a reverse diet wasn't actually a reverse diet. It was just eating in a surplus. And now you have to completely backtrack. And not only have you gained 50 more pounds on top of, the 40 that you wanted to lose, now you've got 90 pounds to lose. So you want to be intentional and do the reverse diet right the first time. It is not going to be an overnight change, which is why I always tell people, like, I really, really, really encourage you, do not give up so fast. Like, don't be so fast to throw in the towel. Like, give yourself 4 months. Like, give yourself the time to go all in, to not give up fast, and to understand that quick fixes aren't going to work. You can't always see the changes that are happening to your body week by week. But when you are in this place of the compounding effect, which, please read the book, The Compound Effect. It is literally my favorite book in the entire, I shouldn't say in the entire world, but it is one of my favorite books because it's what helped me really, really get out of that quick fix place. The Compound Effect. I can try and remember to put that in the show notes for you as well. I will do that. I'll try and put it in the show notes for you. If not, literally, I think you can get it on Amazon, Audible, I'm pretty sure. Anyway, point being is you want to give yourself the time to go through this. So quite truly, like, give yourself 4 months. Like, give yourself 4 months to put in the work and you will see the changes happen. If you are following through my process of reverse dieting, of making sure you have the proper starting macros, making sure you are learning how to hit those macros, and then having the proper strategic adjustments to your macros. Okay. Now, number 3, why we want to actually strategically adjust our macros rather than like just adjusting calories or just eating more, is it's basically like hitting a hole in one with every single macro adjustment that you have. Okay. Because protein, carbs, and fat are adjusted separately, I really think about this as literally hitting a hole in one every single time you have a macro adjustment. Okay. And it's not necessarily meaning that you need to be adjusting your macros every single week. Like, there are very important variables to look at, which every single one of my clients, you better be, I've got all of the safety measures in place to make sure all of these variables are being looked at. Therefore, we know exactly when to adjust macros, exactly when not to adjust macros, exactly how many of protein, carbs, or fat to be adjusted. And literally, you can increase in a way that's giving you a hole in freaking one every time. Therefore, it cannot come back and bite you in the butt. You are doing this in a way that's going to work, and it's going to work long term. Okay. I think what is very interesting too is I have just like fine tuned this process. I love what I do. I want you to do it right in the first place. And also I understand if you have to go do it wrong and then come back, like, I want you to do what's going to be the best process for you. Okay. Now, as we are going through this reverse diet process, we are going to see our overall food intake going up. our weight range, it's hard to say, weight range is going to be maintaining. And if you go back, actually have an episode here, beautiful. I don't know why I have this here. Episode 85, freeing yourself from the scale obsession, embracing a healthy body image. Go listen to that bad boy. It's not episodes in the 90s. It's my 85 episode. It is so freaking good. I am so obsessed with it. Now, I think I talk about weight range in this one. Maybe that's why I have my note here on that rather than up above in my notes. But weight range is going to be maintaining throughout the process. Therefore, we are going to be able to set ourselves up for this absolutely incredible weight loss phase. So for example, I mean, I've got clients literally some eating over 1,000 calories more from when they started their reverse diet, maintaining their weight range. Some are literally having this awesome body recomp already. So they are going from actually, here's an example. One of my girls this week just hit 840 or 840 something, somewhere around there, over 800 calories more by strategically adjusting her macros. Okay. Because macros are going to make up the food that we eat. And those do actually make up calories. I think of macros as like the building blocks of calories. So we're just being more specific and fine tuning what our body needs by tracking our macros. Okay. I'm forgetting where I was going with this. This is not in my notes. I'm going rogue as I do for almost all of my episodes. I have like little notes and sometimes I like completely go like off my notes. And that's fine. That's why I love podcasting because I have like so many things to share. Okay. So client, she's eating over 800 calories. I know what it was. So she's eating somewhere around, I think like 2,400 calories overall. And we're going to go a little bit up higher in her reverse diet. She started, I don't know. I can't do this math off the top of my head, but let's just say she's around 1,500 calories. This means that's not right. Math is hard. She would be eating, if she's eating 800 calories, she's eating around 24. That means she started at around 1,600 calories. If I'm doing that math correctly, somewhere around that point, you get the picture here. And she's gone up from 1,600 to 2,400. So if she were to maintaining her overall weight range, if she were to do a calorie deficit at 1,600, she would have to go down painfully low, say, for example, 1,200 calories. She would not be seeing any extra weight loss happening. She would be pushing her body into a plateau. So therefore, in that reverse diet phase, we have gone from somewhere around 1,600 calories up to somewhere around 2,400 calories. We can go a little bit farther up, say, for example, to 2,600 calories, do a safe calorie deficit and barely even get below, even if, or not at all, 2,000 calories. And she can see that weight loss happen. Okay. So it's basically like she's going from 1,600 up to 2,600, maintaining her weight range, right? So we're not having that weight regain happen. Okay. And for many, it's hard because like so many women never get to the place where they are committing to their reverse diet and they're really scared of getting outside of their comfort zone, staying in the same place, like feeling jealousy over others having all their success. And it's so hard because I have been in that place in the past of being so terrified on my own, making up excuses for why I wasn't committing, even though I knew full on that I could commit and I could be just fine, especially when I found a way that was sustainable, maintainable, educational, and enjoyable. And I have this beautiful quote that I want to read to you. And it's one of those things where like nothing changes if nothing changes. And if you want to continue down the path of jealousy, of like tearing yourself apart, it's not going to benefit you and it's also not going to benefit those around you. We have one life. We get to live it to the absolute best. We want to be the role model for those around us. So we have to show up as that person. And I talk about this book all the time, but 101 Essays That Will Change the Way You Think. And I love, love, love this. And so I have this quote in my, written down here in my notes. And I'm just going to read it to you. Okay. People don't have breakdowns unless they are on the precipice of breakthroughs. And I read that and I was like, holy freaking moly. People don't have breakdowns unless they are on the precipice of a breakthrough. I have been like at the lowest low in my life, like sobbing my eyes out, binging all the time, thinking I was stuck forever. You hit that low so you can have a breakthrough, right? You might have hit that low and you've now discovered my podcast. You were on the way to a breakthrough. And that is so freaking incredible. The quote continues, breakdowns or any kind of intense mental, emotional turmoil are always a sign that things are in the process of changing. Otherwise, just be the normal. You're done. Like, otherwise you'll just be the normal. You are done accepting your old normal and you are on to bigger, better, happier things. And I think the point of me, I think the big point I personally took away from this, and you might take something away from that's completely different, and that's amazing. That's beautiful. I love that. That's why I love this book so much, 101 Essays That Will Change the Way You Think, because we are all different humans. We all think differently. We can all I've had conversations with my clients and I'm like, hey, here's this quote. It really resonated with me. And here's why. Like, what do you think about it? And we have these higher level conversations because I want women who are in this space that they want to change. They are okay, feeling the feels, because yes, it feels hard right now and you feel like you are in that intense emotional turmoil, and you want to run from it, right? You want to run. Our natural instinct when we're uncomfortable is to run and to go back to the comfort zone, even if it's an unhealthy comfort zone of dieting. And my point of this is you want to make sure you are going into a space where you are feeling the discomfort and understanding that this discomfort isn't forever, and also being okay and ready to talk about why you feel this discomfort, what in your past has led you there, and what you can do to change that, how you're going to move forward. And so I think for that quote above, right, having those breakdowns, being in that intense mental and emotional turmoil, you can even add physical in there. When I was going through this place of like the lowest low, I was just really unhappy in my life because of my relationship with my body, because of my relationship with food, because of my body's dysmorphia, because of my, restrict, binge and food guilt cycles. And I felt stuck. I wanted to keep running back to diets, even though I knew that wasn't going to change anything for me. And so for me, in order to truly have that long-term change, I had to understand that I had to look and see, why am I unhappy in this situation now? It is because I am in this place of restrict, binge, food guilt. It is because I have some serious body dysmorphia going on. It is because I am, categorizing food as good food and bad food. Okay, so what's the root cause of all of those things? Number one, I need to work on the way that I'm thinking about myself. Maybe, and I will say I'm a huge therapy advocate. I am such a therapy advocate, and I have gone to therapy in the past, and literally, it's wonderful because it allows you to turn into this place where you're okay having these conversations, and it allows you to honestly, I don't, for lack of better words, become a little bit more emotionally intelligent. I'm like, what's the better word for that? My husband and I use that. We're like, I feel like there should be a better word, but that's what it is. Like, you're more in tune with yourself, in tune with others, in tune with what you're feeling, and it puts you in a place where you're more able to grow and to learn. And I will say, you don't have to go to therapy. Start reading 101 essays that will change the way you think, and start using the little essays to start to break it down and say, what am I feeling? Why am I feeling? Why does this resonate with me? Where do I want to go? Where have I been in the past, and where do I want to go? And it's going to help you change and learn and grow. Okay. And then the second thing for me was obviously going through, this is why I do what I do, but tracking my macros, healing my metabolism, reverse dieting, all of those things literally changed my life. I am obsessed with my body in every single phase that it goes through, whether I am in a bulking phase, whether I am in a calorie deficit, whether I am in a reverse diet, whether I am bloated, whether I'm on my period and just not feeling my best. I love my body every single phase of the way, because my worth is not built on my body. My worth is built on so much more than that. I am not looking for, external validation through having a certain body type. I love myself first, and I love those around me, and you surround yourself with people who are positive and uplifting. And now I'm getting way off track here, but my point is, we want to be in a space where we're not looking at others having these kick butt reverse diets and feeling jealous. Jealousy isn't us just wanting to have what other person has to feel free like the other person is, but it's the realization that we can, yes, I'm obsessed with this. I forgot that I wrote this. It is the realization that we can have it too. We just are not putting the work to get there. We are making excuses. This is our inner selves giving you a freaking reality check. And so when you feel jealous, don't tear yourself apart. Ask yourself, why are you feeling that jealousy? What is it that you want? Why are you not there yet? And how can you freaking make it happen? Oh, mic drop, but my mic is sitting here, so I can't do that. Whew, wow, this is a loaded episode. I'm like deep breaths. My throat's like starting to get scratchy. So anyway, I'm obsessed with this episode. Reverse dieting is freaking amazing. I love it. I love it. I love it. Next week, we are going to be diving into reverse dieting phase number 4, the losing weight and keeping it off. And I will be taking a deep dive there. So if you enjoyed this episode, please let me know because I am obsessed. I love it so much. And I am always here to help you. I want you to know that you are so freaking gosh darn worthy to my core. I have not met you in person, but to my core, believe it to my core that you are worthy, you are capable, no matter what your inner self is telling you, no matter what past diets have done, no matter how terrified you are of failing. If you have the right program, if you have the right coach, if you have the correct, sustainable, maintainable, educational, enjoyable, if you have that support, if you have that community, if you have that support system, you will freaking thrive and you will change and you will step into this next chapter of your life where you are living your best life. You are free. You are excited for life. You feel your worth. You feel your love, and it all starts from within and it overflows out. So with all this, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I will see you in the next one, and I hope you have an awesome rest of your day. Bye, my beautiful peach.